Hello, AniCod here, and today I thought I'd completely mess up a perfectly working helicopter. Well, no, actually it's not. It's broken. All the clips are coming loose and all sorts. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it to bits and see if I can get all the workings inside a Matchbox and see if I can bodge something together to get something working and something flying. There's a few bits like the tail. I'm going to try and make a matchstick tail so I can keep it balanced, and any normal person would actually take the striky bits off the end of the matches, but not me. We're going to keep them on there because this is part of the bodge series. Remember, we're just bodging stuff together to see if it'll work. So first things first, we need to take out the screws. Now these things are very cheaply put together, so they're very cheaply, well, they're just made out of such rubbish, light, tacky parts that it's quite easy to get apart. I think there's about 3 or 4 screws in this and the whole lot just falls apart. So there's the first 2 screws, and that should release the tail. The front end is held together just on these little clips. There's no screws even on there, that just pops off, and that pretty much shows you the full workings. So there's another couple of little screws inside, one on this side, which I'm going to take out now, and that should help us release the tail fin and get the tail fin popped off. So let's just take the screw out there, and the other one for the tail fin, and the whole lot should pretty much fall apart. It might need a little bit of persuading. Anyone what's ever owned one of these helicopters before knows that they're really delicate. One crash and they're pretty much destroyed, and that's what happened to this one. There's all sorts of grinding going on inside, and I think it's because of all the plastic that's been bent out of shape. And then the final screw is holding everything together. So once we've took this tiny little screw out, the whole lot should literally just fall apart into pretty much nothing. That's the idea anyway. And there we go. So you might notice the flight time with helicopters like this being really small, like 3 minutes, and that's because the batteries have to be really small so the helicopters can take off, and obviously because they're really small they can't hold a lot of charge. There's also a lot of moving parts that we're going to have to be careful when we're putting all this stuff into the Matchbox. We don't want any of this getting crammed up or anything jamming in and stopping the workings. It seems to be moving a lot more freely now I've took it apart. There must have been a bit of plastic jamming in the cogs in it, making a funny grinding noise, but that's the end of that. And there's all the workings. This is everything we're going to need to hopefully get the Matchbox to take off into orbit. Well, that's the idea anyway. You've got the sensors, you've got the charging points, the switches, all pretty much built into one circuit board, and that's what keeps the weight down. So the battery's still got a little bit of charge left, as you can see. It's powering the rotors. There's not enough power for it to actually take off. It does need a little bit of a charge, but we'll do that after we've built the rest of the Matchbox. So we'll place that down, and this is just a bog standard Matchbox. You can pick up matches for about 20 pence from your local shop, and we're going to try and fit everything in there. It's going to be a challenge because it's very small, so we'll empty the matchsticks out of it. We'll come back to a few of them later. We're going to make a few different things, a few runners or helicopter skids as they're called, so it can stand upright. And in the meantime we need to work out how we're going to cram all this inside this tiny little compartment. One problem is the sensor, or the charging point and the switch especially, needs to be protruding out the bottom. That's going to make it easier to charge and turn on and off without opening and closing the box. As soon as you open and close the box, everything's going to pop out of it. So I'm going to use a scalpel for this bit, so be very careful if you're using a scalpel. They're obviously very sharp. You could have just used scissors for this bit, but I've already got a scalpel in my hand, so I'll just cut down and remove. And that is going to I'm going to slide the wires through that. So that's what the inside of it looks like, what the sensor is going to pop out. Remember, you need to do the same with the outer box as well. and let's just see if it's big enough to get that sensor inside, which, looking at it, it is. It's pretty much perfect. So we've got the charging point and everything protruding out the bottom, which is good. Then all we've got to do is fit it all in if we can. I'd like to get the bulb outside so you can see it when it's turned on, and we've pretty much just got to get the outer as identical as we can to the inner so it sits perfectly on top. There we go. Now we just need to get it all crammed in. Obviously there's the hole I was talking to you about before. It's going to take a little bit of niggling. You don't want to be too heavy-handed with it because it is only delicate electronics. Remember, these things are really cheaply made, so if you put too much pressure on it, it's just going to pop it. And that's pretty much it. You can see now why I cut a slit in the top, so the wires have got somewhere to slide down. We'll find somewhere for the bulb, which that looks about right, and then it's just a case of getting some hot glue and just gluing it in place. So once you've found the centre of the box, try and get it as centred as you can. You just need to keep the balance and the weight as even as you can. So slap some hot glue around. Remember, this is a bodge series, so I'm literally just bodging it all together just to see if we can get it to work. Once it's dried, there we go, we've got all the workings inside. So now it's time to make the helicopter skids, or the feet, and all I've done with this is just snapped a couple of matchsticks, used some full-size matchsticks, and it's just a case of using our favourite little tool again, the little hot glue tool, to glue on. So we'll snap the second one, and that's it. With the sake of 4 matches, you can make the helicopter skids. So dab a little tiny bit of hot glue and stick them on. They don't have to be too even. Obviously, if you're putting a lot of time into it and you want it to be perfect, then you can, I know, measure it, cut off the striking bits, you can sand it down, you can put a lot of effort into it. All I'm bothered about is testing the concept and seeing if it actually works. So we'll get the second one made, just a tiny bit, little bit of hot glue. And the same with the last little bit of wood. The good thing about hot glue is it dries in seconds, so once you've put a little bit on and you've dolloped it on, you wait literally 5 seconds and they're ready. So that's where we're going to put them, on the side, and again it's just a case of getting our little glue gun and dabbing a couple of bits and bobs and gluing the skids to the side. Remember, only takes a few seconds and the glue dries, and that's it. Nice and easy. All we need to do is the same with the other side, so it actually stands up. Just need to watch the rotors so we can lay it down. So get our little glue gun again, 2 more tiny little dollops, and put the last one on. And then once we've waited a few seconds, we've got most of the helicopter ready. It's just a case of making a tail. Now this is what I made. You can tell you can tell we're bodging it here. There's not a lot of effort gone into this. We could have trimmed it down and made it look neater, and we could have done all sorts with it, but remember, all we're doing is just keeping it balanced. So we're going to slide them in, and we're going to glue them in place as well. So we're going to wedge it completely inside like so. Then we're going to get our little glue gun again and just put a couple of tiny little dollops of glue on the tail, and once that's dry, that's fully fitted in place, and that's pretty much it. It's done. All we need to do is see if it actually flies. That's the main thing. So it's all dry. I mean, for sake of 5 minutes, it's not been too bad. We could have converted something here into something that actually works. I'll show you a few close-ups and you can see how it looks. So there's the charging port. It's not actually plugged in there, I've just shown you what it is so so you can see how it charges. Once it's charged, it stands up and that's it turned on. That's the flashing light. So it's just a case now of, will it fly? Well, let's see. Yeah, alright, that didn't actually happen. This is what happened. And the helicopter broke and something got jammed and it won't turn off and it won't charge, but there you go. So, oh, what a waste of time. Well, thanks for watching anyway, and I'll do a few more BODGED series. I think you knew by the title that it wasn't going to work, but I thought I'd still upload the video anyway. So anyway, like I said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.